Well, I would just start by saying, and then I'll throw it to Christina. But as Jonathan said, Jonathan and I and Deborah and Leslie and now his son, we've been talking about collaborating for years and years and years. And we have collaborated in a lot of different ways. And we're constantly in touch with one another. And, we were on Miami Beach for 30 years. We closed down during COVID. And while we had our shop, collaborated many, many different ways. But now not having a store on Miami Beach, it had always been sort of a dream to be able to continue being able to do what we do in a location on Miami Beach in order to bring, uh, authors and that sort of thing that we have over to the beach. The Betsy has been doing an amazing job of bringing authors to the Betsy and to Miami Beach as well. So what we thought is that um, we could sort of amplify that, enhance that by having a dual partnership more specifically. And then I think Christina and Deborah were in touch, along with Jonathan, about moving it further, and they could probably speak. They could probably speak uh, better than I can about, this actual program.
Can I just say one thing before Christina jumps in with some details that we think of ourselves, meaning we, those of us who live in Miami Beach, hang in Miami Beach, as a serious, important place. I think it's more sort of culturally rich than people imagine. Sometimes our brand projects kind of a superficiality, some of which is fair, but it's not 100% fair. But we really can't be a serious place without a bookstore. And so we've had this big kind of void, frankly, since, as Mitchell mentioned, the closing of the store during COVID. So we haven't solved that problem by doing this program, which again I'll defer to Christine to talk a bit about in more detail. But obviously anything we can do to partner with Mitchell and Books to bring more literary richness to this community is not only kind of a nice thing, it's really an essential thing. And we haven't quite solved the return of Books and Books as a bookstore yet,
Right.
but this is a way to prop it up a bit. And I think when people are going to be sitting in the audience hearing the authors that Books and Books brings to us, they will be feeling the richness that a bookstore brings to a community. And with
And Jonathan,
yeah,
since you mentioned that, I would
yeah.
say, and since we're on camera, that I haven't given up on Miami Beach. I
Oh,
mean, I'm hoping that we will find a space at some point that makes sense for us. And I hope we can come back. I mean, it's where I grew up. It's where I learned how to go to bookstores, was on Lincoln Road for the very first time. It just is it's gonna take a village to figure out, the right economic dynamic to get there. And we will.
And you've
And
been
really,
practicing how to go to bookstores for 50 years. You're doing a great job.
but I mean, I will because Jonathan, I have Jonathan. Nobody wants to let Jonathan down, and I don't want to do that. And we want to keep that community full.
Oops.
Uh-oh, did we lose him?
Yeah.
Specifically about
Oh.
how this specific program started.
So why don't you jump in, Christina, and tell us about the real structure and organization of this event?
Sure. Okay, so Deborah Briggs and I have been talking for at least 6 months, trying to figure out the practicalities of how to have a series, because the hotel books up whenever it needs to book up, and Books and Books is constantly confirming authors throughout the year, but they don't always collide at the actual dates that you want them to come into town. So it's, sometimes it's catch as catch can. We talked a lot about how to bring For years and years, I've, admired Deborah's work at the Betsy. I think she's taken Jonathan and Leslie's, cultural mandate really to heart, has done a lot in our community to really reach out to everyone and be very inclusive and have some tremendous programming. So we wanted to figure out something that would not be a replicate of that, would not replicate that, but would be something different and highly creative. So we figured out that probably the best model would be to actually be able to have a slot that is reserved for Books and Books. And what it is right now is every last Sunday of the month, we will have an event at Books and Books. At the Betsy Hotel. This is just, I'm used to saying Books and Books. At the Betsy Hotel in their B bar at 4 p.m. We also anguished about what's the best time to find an audience, to have people come to the beach. And then that person, the visiting author, will come into town on Saturday, the day before. They'll check in. We'll have an event on Sunday afternoon. And then they're going to have something really, really cool, which is a mini residency on Monday and Tuesday. So that author gets to experience South Beach, experience the Betsy Hotel, and they stay in the beautiful writer's room that the Betsy has created specifically for this purpose. So they can use those days to work on any of their projects, to connect to other people in the community, to make a pilgrimage to Books and Books in the Gables, to have dinner with friends. So we really thought, how do we get this to kind of magnify out into the community? We wanted to be as much, as a benefit to people, really, and to try to do something different in the programming. So we're going to get really creative. We haven't set a schedule so that we're open to these wonderful things that happen with authors and their tours, wanting to come to Miami at different times, so that we can actually get very creative with who we pick, but we want them to be A-listers. So they will all be really published by either an indie or a mainstream press, but definitely already vetted A-list people who we're bringing into the community, specifically on the beach.